Shalom, Earthlings. It's Wednesday, April 8th, 2009, and you are watching Adam the Alien. So anybody that knows me, watches me, or is in any way familiar with me, knows that I like hats. I kind of have this trademark of wearing brimmed hats. But not everybody really knows the history of these hats. So today, I'll just tell you. The black hat was my first hat. I got this hat in January of 2003. It was my senior year of high school, and I'd wanted a hat kind of Indiana Jones style for a while. That day, my dad and I were attending the Martin Luther King Jr. Day weekend thing, peace marches that were going on. After we had completed the march and bought a few very, very political buttons, we stopped by this place called John Helmber Haberdasher. They had loads of wonderful hats. The salesman who was attending to us had actually been at the front of the peace march that we were at the back of. So he had actually just gotten into his suit and on duty when we arrived. Now, I had originally wanted a wider-brimmed, more proper fedora kind of thing. You know, more Indiana Jones style, more detective style. Even though at the time I had hair like down to here and obviously wouldn't look like Indiana Jones or any kind of noir detective. But in describing kind of what I wanted, the salesman ended up giving me this hat and told me to try it on. He said that with the shape of my head it would work a lot better. And I liked it a lot better. This hat has been with me ever since. There have been very few times when I've been without it. So when you wear a hat nearly every day between January 2003 and August 2008, it's going to get a little beat up. In fact, within months of buying the hat, I wore it during a fight choreography exercise in my drama class. And I get really into throwing myself with the punches. So I kinda landed on the hat. The hat's held up pretty well, but by the time last summer rolled around, it was getting pretty beat up. The inner seam had actually become very torn up. It was time to get the hat professionally cleaned and repaired. So I went back to John Helmer's. Initially I was thinking of just getting a hat exactly like this one and kind of putting this one off to retirement. But they didn't have any hats exactly like it. So I thought, hey, this hat served me pretty damn well. So I figured I'll repair it, and in the time it takes to repair, I'll buy a completely different looking hat. I was actually just about to go to Hawaii for my brother's wedding and spend a week there, so I thought maybe a warmer weather hat. After all, this hat gets pretty hot in the middle of summer, and a hat like it in Hawaii, ugh. So that's how I ended up with the white hat. The white hat also helped my artistic progression as a chalk artist at Frost Park Chalk-Offs, because I was wearing a white hat. The alien that I always include into my drawings had to change to a white hat. And I thought, hey, you know what else would look cool? Maybe giving him a white trench coat. And that kind of gave him a comic book superhero kind of feel. I ended up wearing the white hat longer into rainier seasons than first intended, even in some snow, because it took me so long to get back to Portland, where John Helmer's is, to get my other hat back. I didn't get back to Portland to pick up my old hat until I went home for Thanksgiving. When I got there, it was the wrong shape. Now, I had asked for the hat to be reblocked because it was kinda squished a bit, but they reblocked it to the wrong shape entirely. I don't know if you can see it very well right now, but it's got a kind of almost triangular shape to it, and a pretty deep dip. What they had done with it was they had made the top look almost flat with just a very tiny, tiny little line of a dip around. It did not look good, and it certainly didn't look like my hat. It was like some twisted perversion of my hat. And on Black Friday, I took my hat back to John Helmer's. Now, I had been pissed about the perversion of my hat, but they wholly admitted it was their bad, and they reshaped it right then and there for free. And they were really nice about it, so as far as I was concerned, all was cool. Now, while they were reshaping my hat, I ended up browsing the store a bit. So while my first hat was being repaired, and my second hat was on my head, I fell in love with a third hat. To tell the truth, I fell in love with a lot of hats. But I can't afford to buy as many hats as I would love to have. The weather was getting colder, and this winter was especially cold. So a nice, warm, rain-resistant hat was just what the doctor ordered. Especially since in the delivery job that I had at the time, even my black hat just wasn't enough to protect me from the weather. This hat definitely did the trick. So that, dear viewers, is the wondrous tale of Adam the Alien's hats. Fare thee well.